Alright, so make sure you get your date, your page number, and your learning target. You get this all written down in your table of contents. Today we're going to be factoring trinomials. So when we're factoring trinomials, in all of these, it says A is 1, and that'll make more sense in a minute. Remember, the word trinomial means it's going to have 3 terms. So these are all going to be trinomials with 3 terms. So, yeah, polynomials with 3 terms. Alright, so when you're factoring, you first need to check and make sure it's in standard form. And remember, that means highest exponent to lowest exponent. So when a trinomial is written in standard form, it's generally in the form that looks like this: ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are all just numbers. Okay? Today, all the ones we're dealing with, you're going to have a 1 in this spot. So it's basically going to be a 1x squared plus something x plus something. So example 1. This is a 1. It's in standard form. Okay? We're going to check for a GCF, but today you won't have any. So I'm going to look and see, is there something I can take out of 1, 7, and 12, and there's not. When you're factoring a trinomial, you're going to look for something that multiplies to give you the back number and adds to give you the middle number. So I always make this factor x like this. And when I make that factor x, I put the back number back here, and I say, okay, I'm going to multiply to get a positive 12. So I'll write that over here. So what multiplies to give me positive 12, and what adds to give me a positive 7? So when we're talking about this, let's talk about some tricks that can help us. If I'm multiplying to get a positive number, the only way to multiply to get a positive number is to either multiply 2 positive numbers together, that equals a positive, or to multiply 2 negative numbers together. That'll give me a positive. Therefore, if this back number is positive, then these 2 numbers have to have the same sign. Therefore, these will both have to be positive because it'll have to add to give me positive 7. So that's a trick to help you narrow it down. So I'm going to think about everything that multiplies to give me 12. Well, let's see. I could multiply 1 times 12 and then add it together. 1 plus 12 is 13, not 7, so it's not this one. I could also do negative 1 and negative 12. Well, when I add those together, that gets more negative, gives me negative 13. That's not my answer. Okay, well, 2 and 6. Well, 2 plus 6 is 8, not 7. Negative 2 and negative 6. Well, negative 2 plus negative 6 is negative 8, not 7. So let's try 3 and 4. 3 plus 4 is 7, so that is my answer, 3 and 4. Okay, so basically you're looking at everything that'll multiply to give you 12. Only one of those things will give you 7 as well when you add it together. So you got x plus 3, x plus 4 as your final answer. Okay, you probably don't have to do this. It depends on how well you know your multiplication tables. That's the whole point in trying really hard when you do automaticity. You have to know how to add and you have to know how to multiply to do this. If you wanted to check your answer, you could just multiply these 2 binomials out. And you should get what you started with. X times x is x squared. X times 4 is 4x. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 4 is 12. Combine like terms and I get x squared plus 7x plus 12, which is what I started with. Therefore, you know you got the right answer here. Okay, so let's try another one. So I need to multiply to get positive 20, and I'm adding to get negative 9. Again, this number up here is positive, which means these two signs are going to need to be the same, because a negative times a negative is a positive, and a positive times a positive is a positive. Therefore, since this number is negative, these are both going to have to be negative numbers. So I'm going to sit here and think about what multiplies to give me 20 and also adds to give me negative 9. And that would be negative 4 and negative 5. Therefore, my answer would be x minus 4, x minus 5. And that's my final answer for example 2. So this time we're going to talk about, same thing, it's a trinomial, it's in standard form. I'm going to start with my x. I'm multiplying to get the back number, which is negative 15, and adding to get this middle number, which is negative 2. Notice this time my back number is negative, which means these two signs are going to have to be different. I'm going to have one positive and one negative. So you're going to think about everything that multiplies to give you negative 15 and see which one of those things will also add to give me negative 2. And the correct answer to that would be a positive 3 and a negative 5, because when I multiply that together I get negative 15, when I add that together I get negative 2, and you can check on your calculator. That would make this answer x plus 3, x minus 5, and it doesn't matter which order you write these in. Last one. When I'm looking at this one, it doesn't have 3 terms. It's not a trinomial. It's a binomial. But it's quadratic, so let's make it have 3 terms. I don't change the problem any if I make this a plus 0x. Because I can add 0x's into this and not change the problem. You can add 0 of anything into it. I could add 0 y's. I could add 0 anything. Therefore, if I add a 0x in the middle, let's see what that does to it now. I'm trying to multiply to get me negative 49 and add to give me 0. So since I'm multiplying to get a negative, these two signs have to be different. One has to be positive, one has to be negative. Well, the two numbers that multiply to give me negative 49 and add to give me 0 would be positive 7 and negative 7. So my final answer is x plus 7, x minus 7. And that's it. If you want to, you can check and FOIL back through, and you'll see that you get that same answer.